Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little unprecedented. We are putting one of the most ruthless, heavily debated, and frankly controversial books of our time on formal trial. We're talking about Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power.
That's right. Host A is stepping up as the aggressive prosecutor today, arguing that this book is basically a dangerous manual, and I'll be playing defense, making the case that it's an absolutely essential guide for surviving a pretty harsh world. It's time for a real debate.
The question at the very heart of today's indictment is simple, really. Is learning to manipulate others the ultimate survival skill, or is it the ultimate moral failure? Because by teaching deceit, this book literally rots the foundation of human trust. Oh, come on. Human nature is already ruthless, you know? Choosing ignorance just means you're choosing to be a victim. So, let's get right into it. Court is officially in session.
Section 1. Prosecution. Manual for Manipulation.
So I'm officially opening the prosecution. My stance is crystal clear. The 48 Laws of Power is not some objective history book. It is a highly toxic how-to guide. It doesn't just observe the darkness. It actively teaches you exactly how to wield it. Just look at Exhibit 1, the dark arts of power. Law 3, conceal your intentions. Law 7, get others to do the work, but you take the credit. Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. And Law 27, create a cult-like following. I mean, if you read these out of context, you'd honestly think you were looking at the daily to-do list of a clinical sociopath. The text explicitly teaches readers to use other human beings as disposable pawns for their own advancement. Just listen to the predatory language right out of Law 3. Quote, guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelop them in enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it will be too late. This isn't about protecting yourself, okay? This is active, predatory deception. You're purposefully keeping people off balance, creating all this smoke and mirrors solely to trap them. And then we have Law 27, creating a cult-like following. It explicitly teaches you to prey on people's desperate vulnerabilities and that overwhelming human desire to just believe in something.
Okay, but you're completely ignoring a really harsh truth about human psychology here. Greene isn't inventing this vulnerability. He's just observing it. People want a cause. They crave rituals. If you don't step up and fill that void, someone else absolutely will.
Which brings us to Section 2, Defense, Guide to Survival. Let's completely reframe this whole thing. The prosecution wants you to believe this book is a weapon, but the actual truth? It's an indispensable shield. We live in a cutthroat reality, and these laws, they're your armor. Take the concept of the supposed non-player. The people who most loudly proclaim that they don't play power games, the ones who run around saying power is evil and asocial, they are actually playing the most devious game of all. Pretending power dynamics don't exist is in itself a highly effective manipulation tactic. Think about the moral idealist who flaunts their superiority or their piety, demanding absolute equality in everything. Often they're just using indirect strategies to gain sympathy and control the board. The master player, on the other hand, acknowledges the reality of the game. They learn how to play it honestly, without hiding behind this hypocritical mask of moral outrage. It all really boils down to this profound point from the preface. If the world is like a giant scheming court and we are trapped inside it, there is no use in trying to opt out of the game. If you try to ignore these laws, you don't magically become morally superior. You just render yourself powerless, miserable, and incredibly vulnerable to the people who actually do understand them. All right, Section 3, Exhibit A, Historical Evidence. So, both sides have made their opening statements. Now let's put the book's historical anecdotes on the stand. Let's look at Muhammad Ali fighting George Foreman to see Law 17 in action, which is all about keeping others in suspended terror by cultivating unpredictability. Ali's usual pattern was dancing around, tiring his opponents out. But right before this fight, he announced he was just going to slug it out. Everyone thought it was suicide. He played the comedian so no one believed him. Then, he did exactly what he said he would do. Foreman was so utterly disoriented by this broken patter that he wore himself out throwing wild punches and got knocked out. That is pure tactical brilliance. Yeah, except constantly disrupting patterns usually just makes you look completely unhinged and reckless. I mean, even the book warns that if you're a subordinate, being too unpredictable makes you look psychically unstable.
Right. but only if you use it poorly. When executed correctly, breaking patterns is a brilliant way to terrify and trap a stronger opponent, just like Ali did. Patterns are predictable. Breaking them is what gives you the upper hand.
But look at how easily these machinations can blow up in your face. When Queen Catherine de' Medici tried to use a cat's paw, basically a scapegoat rival family, to assassinate a Protestant leader, it failed miserably. The target survived, knew exactly that it was her, and the resulting chaos sparked a bloody civil war, resulting in the massacre of thousands. Treating actual people like chess pieces leads straight to uncontrollable disaster. Moving on to Section 4, the immoral reality check. This brings us to the hardest and definitely the most foundational truth of the entire text. Power is essentially amoral. We have to stop judging our opponents by their intentions. Everyone thinks they are the good guy. Everyone justifies their actions to themselves. Instead, we have to start measuring people purely by the visible effects of their actions. We need to stop whining about what is fair and start looking at the actual strategy being used against us. Amoral? The book literally says, quote, "Deception is a developed art of civilization and the most potent weapon in the game of power." If we accept that, if we genuinely normalize lying, masquerading, and deception as some sort of civilized art form, we rot the very core of human trust. If everyone operates this way, society completely breaks down into a paranoid nightmare. But people constantly use moral judgments simply as an excuse to hide their own power grabs. They use morality to cloud the issue and manipulate you.
And removing morality entirely is this book's fatal flaw. A compass without true north is just going to lead you right off a cliff, no matter how strategically you walk there.
And that brings us to Section 5, the final verdict. We've synthesized all the evidence today, and here is my final warning on the matter. Greene himself writes that power is a labyrinth. Your mind becomes consumed with solving its infinite problems. This book will leave you trapped, paranoid, isolated, and constantly looking over your shoulder.
And I hold firm on my side. Knowing these 48 laws is the ultimate armor. You don't have to use them to destroy people, but if you absolutely refuse to learn them, you will be destroyed by them.
Well, it seems we've got a bit of a hung jury here. We've laid out the arguments, the history, and the psychology.
Exactly. So what is your verdict? Is the 48 Laws of Power a toxic weapon that ruins society, or is it an essential shield required to survive it? You decide.